the Sony XBA N3. Let's talk about it. Now, this is sent out to me by a friend from Hifiguides. I have multiple friends that will send me IEMs. I mean, I call them friends, they're like colleagues. And it's always a great experience to be able to hear IEMs that are kind of legendary, kind of different, something that I personally wouldn't buy. But when you get to hear these older style IEMs, it's always an awesome experience. So this is a discontinued IEM, but people still talk about it. It was made in 2017, so, about 7 years ago. But the question is this IEM good and relevant? Let's start by looking at the build quality of this lovely IEM. Now, this IEM is tiny. It's kind of like a fancy bullet, but I kind of dig the design of it. It's easy to hold ear tips on it. It's comfortable in ear, and ultimately has really good sonic signature. You're not going to get a lot of isolation, but if you're worried about fit, this one would have, I think, no problem fitting in anyone's ear. It is an MMCX cable connector. It does kind of have a nice Sony brand, and overall, a nice little IEM, looks great, feels light. I usually don't comment too much on cases. I'm like, oh yeah, this case. But this is actually a really nice case. It feels good in hand. It has a nice zipper, nice little Sony logo. It has kind of this classy look and feel. Like I could see myself, throwing this into a suit pocket and just kind of taking it on the go. It looks really nice, and it's a really good looking case. I like it. Now, the cable is an MMCX cable, but it does have a chin slider. It does have a Y-split. It terminates into a right angle connector. The wire is kind of chintzy, but again, this is a 7-year-old IEM, so, pretty good all things considering. So how does this sound? I can say, I've gotten to demo and listen to a ton of IEMs over the years, and I have to say this is easily one of my favorite tuned IEMs. I think the technical prowess of this IEM and some of the features of it are a little bit dated. But as far as sonic profile goes, almost spot on, and does a lot of things extremely well. Let's take a look at some graphs and we can kind of go from there. So this graph, it's pretty close to my target. It has a lot of good features to this graph overall. Nice bass shelf, good channel matching considering how old this thing is, nice upper mids, smooth, even upper treble. Just overall an impressive set. Couple things. Let's move on. First of all, I usually like talking about when I've reviewed IEMs from a company before, but I've never really reviewed anything from Sony. We look up here and I check here for Sony and I get nothing. So what do we do? Let's start and look at a few IEMs this graph and this IEM reminds me of, and then we'll talk about a few other IEMs and the price point and, kind of go from there. First of all, if you look at this graph, I think is interesting. The Annihilator. Annihilator is one of my favorite IEMs. It is expensive. It is a fun IEM, but I want you to notice how many trends do you see here. Like they both have that really nice extra, mid bass. They both have nice upper mids. The Annihilator is a lot smoother. It is a lot more technical, but from a tuning perspective, they have a lot in common. They both kind of have this extra 10K hump, and there's a lot of good things going on. The upper air of the Annihilator is much better, but the Sony XBA N3, like if you're looking for a certain tonality and you could find the Sony XBA for a reasonable price, it might get you close enough. It has a very impressive, awesome sound signature, and it's kind of remarkable to me how similar these are. You don't get graphs that are this close, so that's kind of fun. I wanted to show that to you. Now, at its MSRP, it was around $700, so it's kind of debatable what it's going against. If you look at something like the Monarch, I think the Monarch, for me, I like the Monarch, but the Monarch didn't have that bass shelf. If you're like me and bass is important for you and it eliminates other IEMs, I think, you're going to like the Sony XBA N3 better than the Theaudio Monarch Mark II. Again, the Monarch Mark II is a nice set. Some people call it the creme de la creme for mids, but for me, you got to have that full package. If it's going to be that amount of money, it just has to have it all, or else it's just not really there for me. It's just so expensive. It's not something I want to talk about and own, especially at this point in my life. Another thing to look at is, the soft ears RSV. Now the RSV I think is smoother, has probably a better presentation. These are about the same price, but I think the soft ears RSV is something that, I really like the tuning of the soft ears of RSV, and I think that might be kind of the better way to go in some regards. Like it has better upper mids, but these are two about at the same price, and so I think it's something to think about. I like the RSV. I think it's a great set, but again, it lacks that bass shelf for what I like. Now, there are some IEMs that I can recommend for a better price than the Sony XBA N3 that give you a similar presentation that's not ridiculously expensive. The first one is the Dyna Quattro. And I'm a real fan of the Dyna Quattro. Eventually, when things slow down and I don't have IEMs like crazy coming in to see me and I'm actually caught up on everything I want to do, I'll probably talk about some of the most IEMs that I use. But the Dyna Quattros are the ones that I use almost daily. It's just a smooth listen. It's easy. It fits in my ear. It's something that I don't have to baby and worry about all the time. And it's just a nice little set. I actually bought a new cable for it today. So let's look at another one. Technology is growing. I always believe there's technology in minor increments in this hobby, and people try to get prices of things down, like a similar sound signature for less. Although these don't have a similar sound signature, I think if you're looking for impactful, fun bass, like the Awful Explorer now, I think you can get it for $105. It's like on sale at Amazon and Hifiguides. So if it's not currently on sale, it'll eventually go on sale for that price. So there are a lot of modern options that can get you 90 to 95% of that way there to the Sony XBA N3. All right, the Sony XBA N3, let's rank it up. Really solid overall, like a 8.7. If you could find this for $300 to $400, I would say it's well worth that price. I really like the bass and upper mids. It just sounds really good. It has nice highs. The problem with this IEM is not the tuning, it's the technical and the crispiness of it. Like, its technical details aren't very great. It's not super resolving. It doesn't have the greatest, widest soundstage. Its note weight is really nice though. It is a fun, nice, bassy set if you can get a hold of it. But again, it's kind of hard to get a hold of. It's kind of an older set. But again, if you can find it, if you look at this, you'll notice, like, of the A's that I've ranked here, it's like probably by far the least technical. But if you're looking at that kind of really fun mid-bassy, good upper mids, easy fit, like if you're concerned about fit, I mean, even in that way, this IEM has massive promise, and it just has a really kind of a slick, fun black design, and it's a Sony. So, there's certain thing about a branding, I think, to be said as well. So this is like a 7-year-old IEM. It holds up really well. It's quite fantastic, and it's a super impressive IEM in its own right. I'm super excited to be able to get the opportunity to review this. I've had this in house now for almost 2-3 weeks and had the opportunity to listen to it. And it's a really enjoyable set. It's just a fun, easy listen, easy to fit in ear, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's an easy recommend for people that are interested in this. And I think, I think that's kind of something important to note. I would love to see Sony redo this. Do this maybe in a different manner, maybe do a new way, maybe do this with a 2-pin, something you can easily swap. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Sony's current designs, but I really like the fit and comfort of this IEM, and I think it's really awesome. I like the little pouch. There's a lot to be had. There's a lot to be said about this IEM, and I think it's a full-blown classic, and I absolutely love it. And I think it's a pretty good value at its price. Is it the best of the price? No, but it's a really fun, fantastic listen that I fully enjoy, and I fully, if I ever find one for a reasonable price, you better believe I'm going to pick it up. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and thanks for watching. You're still here. It's over. Go home. Go watch another IEM video. It's done. That's the entire video. What more do you want?